everyone, and welcome to Political Paradigm. I'm Terry Ikumi. My guest today is the governorship candidate of the PDP in Akwa Ibom State, Pastor Umo Eno. Welcome to Political Paradigm, Pastor.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you for having me.
I think I'd start off by saying congratulations on winning at the appeal court. How do you feel about that judgment?
Well, we thank God. It's heartwarming. It's also thanks to the Judiciary, who have done such a fantastic work. And my lawyers submitted our defense out of time. And so it was a real cause for worry. But we thank God that the judges didn't just look at it on the surface. They had to dig deep, and he who alleges must prove beyond reasonable doubt. And they did. So it's good. The judiciary has always been the hope of the common man, the last hope of the people. And I'm happy that they went beyond, your defense didn't submit a brief, or they submitted out of time, whatever it was, and looked at the facts of the case. So we're happy.
Are you confident that with this judgment, perhaps the destabilization and the PDP in Akwa Ibom State will be sorted, including Mr. Akan Okon, who took you to court, and then you can focus on winning the election?
Well, the PDP has never been destabilized in Akwa Ibom State in the first place. We had always remained focused because we knew that this will go nowhere. At the trial level, at the High Court, we had proved that even WIC was brought in to submit the certified true copy of my certificates, and I do not know what else, But again, I just wish and trust that Akan Okon will now see reasons for us to come together and work together for the common good of the Akwa Ibom people. He's still a member of the PDP in Akwa Ibom, so he had the rights. It was within his rights to challenge what he felt wasn't right. But now that we've gone the whole hog, except if he wants to go to the Supreme Court, but we can get together and work for the common good of our people.
I think it's nice that you say that the PDP in Akwa Ibom is not destabilized, because going through the list of the candidates, there were initial concerns about who you would be up against. And it was more or less an election for the PDP to lose, so to speak, because of clearly power of incumbency. But beyond that, there are those who have concerns as to perhaps your political prowess to win this election for the PDP. They say the people who argue this do this because they look at your antecedents and they say you've never held an elective position, and now you want to be governor. Of course, you've gone ahead to hold political appointments in different offices. So let's look at your political history now. What exactly informs sort of fuels your confidence in winning this election?
Yeah, thank you. The point is not about holding political offices. The point to be made here is, does he have the competence? Does he have the capacity? Does he have the character to hold a high office as a governor? And has he managed a business? Has he been involved in management of any sort in the past that Akwa Ibom people can trust him to manage the office of the governor? You don't have to be a career politician, as we'll say, that, okay, I'm a career politician and I've been here 20 years, I've been here 15 years. I believe that I bring to the table an entrepreneurial experience. I bring to the table a managerial experience. I bring to the table the capacity. Having been in the private sector in the last 30 years of my life, and having risen to the point, having worked in other organizations and run my own business in the last 25 years. And I've lived in Akwa Ibom. I've invested in Akwa Ibom. I understand the terrain. I understand Akwa Ibomites. I know what we want. I know what should be. As a matter of fact, I've not been in the political class, so that itself is even an advantage, if you will, because I've been in tune with the grassroots. I understand the problems of the grassroots. I've been a businessman all through. And as an entrepreneur, I understand the problems that entrepreneurs go through, and which we believe government should have helped out. And so now an opportunity presents itself for me to come to the scene and ensure that we move our state forward in the right direction, continuously in the right direction, building on, of course, the foundation that have been laid by previous administration, and particularly the Governor Dom Emmanuel's administration. If you get into Akwa Ibom today, you will understand that there's been massive infrastructural development. Now we need to bring someone who understands the next level where Akwa Ibom should be heading to. Our young people are out of job. You know the ratio. We have young people out of jobs, and everybody continuously look onto government to provide that work. In Akwa Ibom, we have low-hanging fruits that all you need is someone who has an entrepreneurial spirit, who has the capacity, who has the competence, who have done it before. In his private endeavors, it's easier sometimes to be in government, and then you call the shots from government. It's public fund and you're in a public office. But it's much more difficult when you break through as a private individual. So I bring that to the table, and I believe that I'll be able to serve Akwa Ibom people with integrity, with compassion. I'll bring competence to the table. We need a little bit of private sector mixed with government. Fortunately, by the grace of God, I have both and more of the private sector. And so that's the next phase that will give jobs to our people, that will make Akwa Ibom become an entrepreneurial state, is to have someone in the private sector who has practically that experience. That's what I bring.
We will talk about what you bring to the table in details based on your Arise agenda. But let's deal with perhaps the politics aspect of it. We understand that it's not easy for a technocrat to win elections in this country because of the way the system is structured. You have a battle ahead of you, one of which is former Governor Godswill Akpabio from the same local government area. And
from the same state.
The same. He boasts that he would win this election, and of course we see his antecedents in the past. But beyond that, there are those who question whether or not you were really interested in being governor. In fact, some believe that you were handpicked. There are those who say that you were not really an active member of the People's Democratic Party. You were not in the conversation until I think Obong Big Victor Atta, endorsed you. I've always been in the PDP. I've always been in the PDP from the ward level. As a matter of fact, from the days of Obong Victor Atta, I was the chairman of Akwa Ibom Hospitality and Tourism Board in the days of Obong Victor Atta, way back in 2004 to 2007. I've always been in politics, but I'd concentrated on my business. So you don't have to, and growing my business, doing the things that I love to do. But a time comes when there's that instinct that you have what it takes. And also when you are, a few person tells you, we think you can do it. We've seen your antecedent. And if someone like Obong Victor Atta is the one saying so, he's been around for a long time. He's basically regarded as the father of the modern Akwa Ibom, So if you have the support of people at that level, and of course, before you jump into politics, you don't just throw your hat into the ring. You have to consult widely and find out from the people ask for their endorsement, ask for their thought, and say, well, we think you can do it. We've seen what you've done before. So politics for me is not something you sit down and plan 10 years, 20 years, and you give someone a cup of water and write it down and say, well, I'm doing it because I expect you to pay me back in the future. I don't think that's what politics should be. We need to begin to look at politics in a different dimension. People, and you know it, in other climes, people come to politics having had a track record in the private sector. So they come in to serve. They really come in with the experience to serve the people because they understand the needs of the people, rather than I become a councillor, then I'm going to be a supervisor of local government. I want to be the chairman, go to the House of Assembly. It's like a career path, and we're just there, and we keep doing that, and it's not going to work out that way. Politics is becoming very dynamic, and the right kind of people just have to get involved. What does your private sector experience add to the table?
I have, apart from working, before I joined, I started my own private company. I'd worked in Lagos, I'd worked in Union Bank, I'd worked in private companies, Betula Machine Tools, I've worked in Norman Holdings. I rose to become the group general manager before we started out with Royalty Hotels in 1995. And then we've grown it now to become a conglomerate where we have other subsidiaries like the Royalty Apartments, Aqua Fresh Water, we have eateries, and of course, Royalty Hotels was the very first company local company that won a major bid to provide catering services for ExxonMobil offshores in Eket. We catered for 12 platforms of ExxonMobil for 12 years, and we've had wide range of experience. We've worked for few IOCs, providing catering services real time for them. And you know that to work offshores, to cater for a company like ExxonMobil offshores, 12 platforms, 12 years, you must know what you're doing, because you know that they have timing for their meals. You're running your logistics. You have to move the food. You have to take it offshores. So you have a logistics company. You have your staffing. You have your safety, health, environmental issues. You have community relations. These are all encompassing. So it's just beyond. You bring all of that. And again, you have to be very detailed. You must have attention for details to be able to do all of that. And all of these 12 platforms at any point in time will have sometimes their TOB, total on board, will be like 1,000, 1,500, 1,200, depending, 2,000, depending on. So for you to do all of that, it's not just about I'm cooking food. I'm not selling a restaurant. And if you're in a hotel, you know that the guest is your king, and you have to do everything to satisfy the guest. I've been in the hospitality business in the last 25 years, and we're still growing. So you bring all of those to the table to show that you have the capacity to multitask. You have the ability to look for details. You understand the needs of the people, and you can fit into that need as encapsulated in our RISE agenda. These are well thought out issues.
I had a conversation with former governor of Abia State, Ojuzo Kalu, who said that the state would have been better for it if they had consistency in terms of the leadership of the state in the same party. Interestingly, Akwa Ibom has had that consistency since 1999, and there are those who now argue that there's not been as much, that the expectations have not been met as much. Akwa Ibom is not where it should be with that level of consistency, because you also talked about foundations that have been laid from Obong Victor Attah's time till now. And it's just been 8 years now of Governor Udom Emmanuel. Akwa Ibom State is an oil-producing state. So if Akwa Ibom is not where it should be, why do you think that the people of Akwa Ibom State should give the PDP another opportunity?
Well, first of all, we have to look at where should it be. Because it's easier to say we're not where it should be. Where should we have been at this time? That you had a governor that came in on industrialization and moved the state away from a core civil service state and has brought a lot of industries to the state, partnered with investors. As we speak right now, Akwa Ibom is a work in progress. You have a petrochemical plant coming up. You have a fertilizer plant coming up in the state. We have a syringe factory that is ongoing. We have a flour mill, a flour packaging company that is ongoing. We have infrastructure that has been developed. Ibom Air is critical component, the pride of Nigeria today. And you know that's coming up. You have the MRO that is coming up. And you have a brand new smart International Airport terminal building that is coming up. Come to Akwa Ibom, look at our roads. Getting from the airport, look at entering into the city. Look at all of the infrastructural connections that has been done. Ibom Deep Sea Port is one of the things that this government has achieved. And don't forget that this is not the state, again, is a PDP state. It's not at the center, so it's a subnational. And this government has done so much in terms of education. We're still running free and fair education. We're still building infrastructure. Like I've said to you, this government has opened up Akwa Ibom in the area of land, air, and sea. And so investors are coming in, and Akwa Ibom has remained one of the most peaceful states in Nigeria. So we need to look at this and benchmark. Say, where do we think we should have been? We've not arrived there yet, but we've made significant progress. When you compare Akwa Ibom from what it was 8 years ago, the milestone we have achieved today, and then you can now project building on this where it will be, and that's what you need the next level for.
You know, when you talk about all these projects and industrialization idea or plans of the government, it raises a question, what impact did it have on the people? Because you also agree that the unemployment rate in Akwa Ibom is quite high. I've also spoken with a number of, in preparing for this interview, some conversations with indigenes of Akwa Ibom State, and one response was frequent: unemployment. There are no jobs. What's the situation?
Unemployment generally is a problem in Nigeria.
I agree, but however, you know that industrialization and attracting those companies to come and set up in Akwa Ibom is supposed to translate into job creation.
Correct, and it has. You need to find out how many people are employed by Ibome, for example. All of the roads that are being constructed, Akwa Ibomites are working there. Most contractors are indigenous contractors. And then with the petrochemical plants and all of these plants coming up. But you also must know that the rate at which we turn out our young ones in the university is also high. And that's where we need to look at. There's no way you can say that and we don't get back to the Arise agenda. These are gaps that we found. We need to start building certain skill sets in our young people rather than just spend time in university. They graduate 4 years, 5 years, depending on the courses they do, and of course the strike period. They finish and they don't have a skill. So what we intend to do through the Arise agenda is to develop the skill sets of our people, so that when we come out, because you may find jobs, but you may not find the job that matches their skills. So what do we want to do through the Arise agenda? We want to develop our human capacity. Speak with these organizations that are coming up and say, look, what skill sets do you require? While you're building your facility, let's have your skill sets. And then we deliberately target our people and train them to match the skill set. And that's something we must do deliberately. We must begin to look at, again, our schools. Are we having vocational schools, technical schools that will arm our young ones with the skills that when they come out, they don't have to just carry the certificates. And then you also help in career guidance and counseling, that they know the right courses they will go to read, so that when they come out, they become employable. Some can also, while in school, begin to even be creators of employment themselves, depending on the channel. This is another phase, because as you develop things, you begin to look at what are the gaps and how do we correct, how do we fill the gaps. No one government can do everything. And that's why after a period, the Constitution has made it clear, and 8 years, but there is, when you look at what you've done, you scale up. And that's what we intend to do. That's why we're talking about continuity. There are many things that are in the works, and we're not just going to sweep them under the carpet, because if you do, every successive government that comes will want to, you understand how it is in this country, set up, don't want to follow through what the other government has done. But this is a work in progress, that it will take someone who has a clear understanding and understand the intent of government as at the time to be able to continue and ensure that, if anything, we scale up on our vocational training, on our technical skill acquisition, and ensure that our youths are hands-on. And that's what we intend to continue to do, and ensure that we also build this into our curriculum even in our university, to make sure our students are able to be equipped with the right skill that they need for
I'm sure every Akwa Ibomite listening would hope that you can, generate the funding for some of your projects. I ask that because the 2023 budget of Akwa Ibom is about 697 billion naira. Of that, 344 billion will go to recurrent expenditure. Are you satisfied with that sort of appropriation going in that you will inherit?
Yeah, but you inherit and you look at it again, see where you have to cut down and put in, and see where you want to put in money. You see, I wouldn't want to talk on how government arrived at that. It depends on the exigency as at the time.
No, I brought that up because you had said that the industrial revolution of the Udoma administration had taken Akwa Ibom State from a civil service state, but their budget doesn't reflect that.
Yeah, the budget will reflect in terms, government, don't forget, are encouraging investors to come in at this time. And so these are seed times. For you to attract investors, there must be some concessions you give that will not begin to reflect immediately. You have to create the environment. You have to give some concessions that will not reflect totally in your inflow. But in the years ahead, when the investment is ripe and the investors have that confidence, you begin to see it in your taxes, in your in other issues that really comes up. So it will take that time, and we're almost getting there.
Well, you know that of that budget, about 340 or 350 something or so will go to capital expenditure. Meanwhile, the expected revenue is 340. So that means that you have to generate money to fund that budget, which you will inherit. However, you recall that in July last year, in the first quarter of last year, Akwa Ibom was one of the 3 states that did not attract any foreign direct investment. So when you talk about attracting investments that will help fund this budget, what do you hope to do differently?
First of all, we need to reprioritize through the Arise agenda how you want the state to go. We're looking at agriculture. And through the agricultural revolution, one, you achieve 3 things. The first thing you do is to get our youth back to work, because you're coming through commercial agriculture now, and then you're going to go through a full value chain to give your people the food, and so you employ people. That's one. The second thing is that you raise your level of inflow. You understand that? And then, of course, the third thing is that you help develop the rural communities. That's what you intend to capture through agriculture. When you employ the people, your internally generated revenue is going to go up than what it is now. So of course, the more employment you create, the more people come within the tax net, and the more you are able to generate revenue, in your IGR. And of course, these are the areas you begin to build. There are other things too, that you need to begin to streamline your policies in such a way that you can attract donor agencies to support some of the programs that you have in mind to do. So these are critical.
So what are the things that you intend to do to attract the foreign investment?
If you get your rural development policies right, and you begin to dwell on developing rural areas, you know that there are grants and there are matching grants. There are organizations that are working and wanting to partner to develop our rural communities. So definitely, you know that you can attract
foreign direct investment.
Yes, and people will come in, and you need to create an environment. What we need to do, some of the things we're looking at is you create an industrial park that provides an ambience for the people, provides the right attraction for the people to come in and invest in your state. There's already an industrial park site. There's already an Ibom Solution Hub that brings, you can have all of the logistics issues happening around. There's the Ibom Deep Sea Port that you need to bring investors to ensure that we realize the seaport. And these are all things that will bring foreign direct investment. And you said we're number 3 that we didn't attract investment last year. Don't forget that we were in the COVID year. But before then, Akwa Ibom was second to only Lagos in attracting foreign direct investment. COVID came in and slowed down everything. So if you're judging us post-COVID, yes, because things just started to return to normal. But pre-COVID, we're number 2 in this country.
Well, let me ask you this question. Business Day did a report which showed that Akwa Ibom State was among the top 3 states as well, with the most miserable Nigerians. And this is attributed to the standard of living in the state, which you say you will address. I see that that's been captured in your RISE agenda. But I think the people would want to know what's different from what's different from what you say compared to what they've been used to in the past, and how quickly will this happen?
The issue, again, when people write, these are opinions. I need to see the data. I need to see how they get their data. I need to understand how they verified this data. But agreeably, we need to work on our rural communities. That is one of our cardinal points, agenda that we have. I want to see water flow in our rural communities. I want to see the road network in our rural communities. I want to see cottage hospitals in our rural communities. I want to see them have light in our rural communities. I want to see investments in, of course, the agricultural investment we are talking about. The tourism sites we intend to develop in Akwa Ibom State. We have about 21 tourist sites that we didn't look at. We need to develop that. And Akwa Ibom, like I've said, based on the fact that we're a peaceful state, you can develop these tourism potentials of the state. We've not looked at our blue economy at all. The people living in the rural, riverine areas have not benefited from the natural endowments that they have. And we intend to ensure that we tap into all of those things. I told you, I'm an hospitality professional. Now, you won't believe that the prawns, the shrimps, the fishes from Akwa Ibom, we have to go to another state to buy in bulk. Why is it so? Because our people, these people come in and they pay these fishermen peanuts, and so as to just buy upfront whatever they bring. The people have no choice. So we intend to ensure we stop that. We set up cooperatives and empower people, give them fishing boats, fishing nets, put them together and build around the seashore factories and facilities that will make them store their catch. You understand that? And then put security in place to take care of the sea pirates that is now becoming a major issue. So all of these things are happening in our rural communities. And so you bring a good life to the rural areas and try to stem the rural-urban migration. These are the things we have captured properly in the RISE agenda. We have a needs assessment and we understand all of these things.
Let's find out how much you've captured education in your agenda, because there's been a back and forth between the government, the state government, the federal government, and some online reporters as to the number of out-of-school children in Akwa Ibom State. But whether or not, even though the state government hasn't come out to give clear data, it clearly stated at least 3-point-something million children have been sent back to school since last year. The question is, education in Akwa Ibom State has not been as bad at the tertiary level, but the concern of basic education has caught the attention of a lot of critics, including ICIR.
Education at the primary level, don't forget the state is still running free and compulsory education. And of course, we intend to continue with that. And beyond that, introduce some subjects, some curriculum that will make it more interesting for students. Bring in technology, bring in vocation skills at the primary. You can put all of that together, review and rejig the curriculum that they are currently running to make it interesting. And again, you ensure by setting up proper monitoring system that the children are in school. We intend to go on to give them uniforms, to give them shoes, to provide exercise books, to ensure that, again, we make the studying atmosphere conducive, give them solar panel lights to make sure that, you must build an attraction.
Perhaps add transportation to it.
Not in the immediate. I like not to say, I like to say the things we can do immediately, and maybe, if you like, under promise and over deliver, than to be a regular politician who says I'll do everything.
No, you know why I brought up that conversation? Because an investigation into why the free education program of the government isn't yielding as much results showed that the government isn't investing as much into getting the children to school. So perhaps some of these...
No, but the schools are closer to the children.
Every school is closer to the children.
Yes, if there's no village, or at least, let me know, there's no word in Akwa Ibom that you don't have a school. So you can walk to school.
So what do you think is the problem? And why the numbers are not...
I am, again, like I've said to you, I have to review these numbers, and we have to be sure. Akwa Ibom State has consistently queried these numbers and say, what's your source? What was your primary source of these documents? We've said so over time. It's not just enough to get into a state and you're conducting a survey. You're not in touch with the state Department of Statistics. You're not collaborating with them, and you just pick surveys.
But those reports said that some of the children were spoken to directly, some of the teachers were spoken to directly, and there was a reason why that conclusion was made, and it was because levies were still put in place for the pupils to pay.
That's not true.
Which sent them away from school.
The state government has made it clear, if there's any school that there is a levy, you can report directly. That's clear. We need to, in coming up, I don't have a problem with data and statistics, but I know that the little bit I know is you come to a place, you want to run your statistics and your data, you work with the institution on the ground. And at the end of the day, you review the things you've done. So we need to get this right. And one of the things we will build on is to ensure that we have our statistics department do what they're supposed to do, and we'll be able to have our figures out there. And that's just what it should be. Some of these things are debatable because the issue of levies, the state government made a public announcement and said, wherever these levies are going on, please make a report and we'll investigate it. There's no levy whatsoever. It's absolutely free.
Great. Let's talk security now. While you say that Akwa Ibom State is safe, you would be governor. If you become governor, you would have to contend with whether or not to accept the state policing system. And you've seen how that has played out, how some state governors insist on having that, but the federal government has said no. In fact, recently, the National Assembly has cried foul that it's been held hostage by the State House of Assemblies with the influence of the governors insisting that state police must be included in that. What do you think about that? It's
neither here nor there. For me, if there's a state police, good. Whether it's the state police or the federal police, you must look at the pros and the cons. So what the government is doing in Akwa Ibom is to work with all of the security agencies and then give support, reasonable support for them to deliver. And so I'm not going to sit here and begin to talk whether we want a state police or we don't want a state police. But I know what we're doing currently is working, and we need to just upscale it and continue to collaborate with the security agencies, provide the needed tools they need to support, because every state has its own peculiarity. And if you work with them and provide what they need and bring all of them together and let them see the need to serve the people and help the people, I'm sure they'll do well.
So you're saying that you don't support state police?
like I've said to you, I'm not going to speak for or against. I'm saying that I'm going to work with the tools I have and improve on what is on the ground. If in the process there's a need for state police, fair enough. But again, when you say state police, it is the locals that provide information for the security agencies to work with. So there are many ways you can engage the locals in working with the police, not until you come out to have a state police, as it were.
But the argument, especially from analysts, is that you cannot have a central police force for a country like Nigeria. We don't meet up with the UN recommendation of how many policemen to each.
Are you also aware, Terry, that, like I said, some of these things have the pros and the cons? Are you also aware that a state police will be directly responsible to the state governor? Are you also aware that the state governor could exercise some authority that will make the state police work against opponents? I mean, so there's argument forth and back. And that's why I'm saying the best manager is someone who uses what you have to get what you want. It's not someone who keeps giving excuse. I couldn't do this because this was not available. People want to see results. And so if you work with the people you have now and fund them and support them and respect them, they'll deliver. They've been delivering. How
do you intend to address issues of healthcare in the state?
Oh, healthcare, the truth is, the Arise agenda is the only agenda today that have a robust healthcare plan. I've met with healthcare professionals in Akwa Ibom across the board, and various candidates have made presentations. They have acknowledged that we have the best healthcare plan. We have, right now in Akwa Ibom, our secondary healthcare is good. But, again, I have a passion for the rural communities. So we want to take healthcare to the rural people. Recently, we did a free medical outreach, and I discovered something. It will shock you that people have had maybe hernia for like 3 years, 4 years. They don't want to leave the village. So the general hospital, they're there. But when we took this outreach there, they came and they had surgery. What is that saying? If we want to concentrate on our primary health care system to ensure that we provide at least in every other ward a cottage hospital that the locals can rally around. We want to make sure that from the primary health care, you move it to the secondary health care. We want to be able to provide ambulances in our local communities. You may not be able to, maybe in each local government, and you monitor it. The technology has made these things very easy right now, so that if I have a medical emergency by 11 p.m., a woman is about to put to bed, and that woman has an issue in the primary health care cottage hospital, they can quickly take her to the secondary health care. These are things we have in our plan. We have a plan to ensure that we bring medical insurance to our people, because some of the health conditions, they are not able to pay for it. So there's a medical insurance policy. Why can't we make it work? We can do that and make it work for our people. These are things we have. We want to make sure that we look at even our dispensary system. In those days, people could walk up to at least a dispensary and get their prescription. But now, we have to go and stay in our secondary healthcare facility. So what we want to do is ensure that by the grace of God, we provide, and we're already working on it. I didn't come to this interview with designs, but we don't just say these things. Note, my background is not a background of just politicking. We set goals and set milestones and achieve them within the specific time. So we intend to focus on health for our people in the rural areas, make sure they connect them to the secondary. And then, of course, we have a robust health program for Akwa Ibom State. If you come into Akwa Ibom, you will find that we have the Ibom Specialist Hospital. And we want to ensure that around that hospital, we can open the medical city between that hospital and the 4 Point by Sheraton Hotel. There's a good corridor there that we can create a medical city and then be able to, boost medical tourism.
At what level will this healthcare service be free to certain class of people?
No, from age 65, you can have access to basic health care. The rest we can cover with insurance. I believe that our elders should be able to have access. Once you're able to prove with your identity, you should be able to have basic health care.
Great. Pastor Eno, Akwa Ibom State is currently the largest oil-producing state in Nigeria, but there are concerns that it's been neglected by the federal government over the years, and that perhaps has affected the status of the state. Do you agree with those who say that the federal government has neglected Akwa Ibom State? I had a conversation with a member of the House of Representatives, Unyime Idem, who agreed that if the federal government had paid as much attention to Akwa Ibom State, considering the level of contribution it makes to the coffers, Akwa Ibom State would be better for it.
Well, I can't agree less. I like the federal government in all of these 8 years to show us one project. Presence of the federal government in Akwa Ibom State, just one. Just one. You see, I'm not someone who likes criticizing. I am not trained to criticize. I'm trained to deliver results. But there are things that are factual. I believe that the federal government can support our states and the oil-producing states. Right now, NDDC is being rejected, and we have hope that with the present administration and with what we're seeing, then maybe the benefits will begin to come.
But then there are NDDC projects in Akwa Ibom.
Now, I like them to point them out.
There's none?
I like them to point NDDC projects that they've started and they've finished, and the quality of those projects before this, the present change. I like them to point it out. They can publish it. You see, like I said, I don't major on minuses. That's not my area. There are people who drum up weaknesses and blow it. I like to see a good collaboration. If this NDDC, which is what the federal government graciously set it up to help the oil-producing states, if you're coming into my house to provide me help or a service, courtesy would at least demand that we discuss it so that we can tell you these are the areas we believe we need help. I don't know when last it happened. I've been in government too. At least I would have known through the ESCO meetings that, okay, NDDC is here, NDDC is. But again, I believe that with the present reorganization we're seeing and the man there now, all of this new board that has been set up, the programs that we see, we believe that they should be able to deliver on their mandate and support the state government.
Governor Nyesom Wike has recently been drumming it into the ears of his people that they need a president that will not only take from them, but give them. So I'm going to ask that question directly to you, seeing as you want to be the governor of Akwa Ibom State. What kind of president does Akwa Ibom want?
A president that is able to walk the talk. President that is strong enough to deliver on his mandate as a president, who will be able to take decisions clearly with a clarity of mind and purpose. I believe that that's the president Nigeria needs. Look, you know it. we have really, really gone down. And we need someone who will be forthright enough, who will be willing also to take some very critical decisions to get us out of the woods. Look at the figures all around. Look at all of the indices coming in everywhere. That doesn't make anyone happy. So I think that we need a president who will be able to handle this.
And you're hopeful that that president would be your candidate?
Of course, I'm of the PDP, so naturally I will tilt to and pray and work.
Well, are you not as worried as others that considering the crisis within the party? I know that many months ago we had this conversation with many PDP stalwarts, and they believed that it's just a matter of time. Things will be sorted out. The elections are just a few weeks away, and nothing's been sorted.
Well, you see, it's still a crisis within the family. All of those, the G5, they are still all in the PDP. And they've produced PDP candidates. And I believe that things will go well. I just believe things will go well. Somehow, God has a way of fixing things. Things will go well.
The elections are just around the corner. Every time I have a conversation with a politician, I like to know their thoughts ahead of the elections, concerns or fears. Some would say security concerns, others would say the INEC may be the problem. What's your concern ahead of the elections?
General concern, security. And I think, for me, I believe INEC humanly possible from what we can see. The assurances we're getting, I believe they're ready. But I also would like us to look at that in the light of security, because when people know they can't win in a certain area, the plan will be to disrupt voting in that area, because if you can't vote in that area, of course, the beavers won't recognize it. So that's the build-up, that's the sense, and that's the intelligence we're getting. So there's a need to heighten security presence, not as to scare people, but just as to make sure that people go to the polls and vote and let their vote count. To that extent, yes.
Are you satisfied with the rate of PVC collection in your state?
We're still working. It's a work in progress, and people are still collecting their PVC. We're drumming support that people collect their PVC. INEC has done well because they take these PVCs to the ward centers, at least getting closer to the people. That's why I'm saying that from what we see, we believe that INEC is up and about, and we'll continue to drum that support so that people can pick up their PVCs.
We're almost out of time now, but I need to ask you this question. In Akwa Ibom State, how do you hope to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor?
The Arise Agenda. The Arise Agenda addresses what we must do. We need to get back to agriculture, and agriculture. We need to get back to rural development. We need to keep maintaining the infrastructure that we have and build necessary infrastructure. We need to take security seriously, like we've done, and improve on it, particularly in the riverine areas, so as to give confidence to the riverine people to be able to go out and earn a living. And then we need to take education, enterprise very seriously. We need to look at our educational policy again. We need to see where and how to bring our young people to come out becoming job creators themselves. We need to set up ICT platforms, technological platforms. That's where the world is going now. Our young people are more interested in that. We need to give them that opportunity and create that platform as much as possible. Build hubs, build things around. Time has failed me to even discuss our Rise agenda. You'll see that we're creating hubs for our people, fashion hubs, and then they run a full value chain production, shoe hubs. If our people can make shoes, why can't we put them together in a village and then provide them with the necessary facility, where they can have all of that done and they can benefit from an economy of scale, give them light, give them things to do. You see, if you take agriculture, for example, Akwa Ibom is blessed by God. We have green all year round. And so why can't we want to create communities to handle special products. For example, let's take cassava. Cassava is something every home grows, but we do it at subsistent level. So we want to open a community and make sure that these communities, all of them, government will give them the stems, the sticks, and all of that, and then put in place a production plant that enables the government, say, okay, you plant, it's an outgrower scheme, we'll buy from you. We put money in your pocket. We have the raw material. Government itself will plant. Right on that farm, we're going to have a cassava milling machine, industrial, that will give you cassava, give you starch. You can turn it to gari, you can turn it to starch, you can use it for some other things. And so the whole of that community will get involved and sell. You move from there, and then you look at businesses, small, medium enterprises. We have people who have learned fashion. They sew, shirts like these are made in Nigeria. So what the problem we have is finishing. So what I'm thinking of is get what I call a fashion village. Put shops there, and then let the people give them the shop on condition. You're going to engage 2-3 persons. I'll give you, because you see, I believe in value. You engage 2-3 persons, then I'm going to go import the finishing equipments in that hub, so that if it's going to be buttonholes, if it's going to be engraving, all will be there. So of all of these people, they can patronize that, and they can have their finishing done. I told you we're going to do free uniforms for our students. So rather than ship the job out, I can give the uniforms to them. This is in terms of small scale, small, medium enterprises, and you boost their businesses. You can train our manpower.
I say you're not concerned about power.
No, power. Let's say this clearly. Akwa Ibom state government generates power, but we put it in the national grid. And so the state government just had a license now to distribute, again, to the rural communities. So if you generate, you take what you want to distribute before throwing the rest to the national grid. So you'll be able to be in charge. There are substations that the state government has built all around. Okay. But the truth is, you couldn't generate power. So now we're going to be able to generate power. See, Terry, these things are little things that they are doable, because if you have the will and you understand it, these are plans that are there. And then you try as much. I don't believe that empowerment is buying you a car if you don't have the ability to maintain the car, because they can't even fuel the car. But empowerment is making you to have a source of livelihood and a means of livelihood that you can buy yourself a car or whatever thing you need. And we need to begin to empower people in that direction. We have to build our human capacity. Pastor, these are all the areas we're looking at.
Pastor Moeno, I thank you very much for coming to speak with us on Political Paradigm. And I wish you well at the elections. When I say pastor, it's not all the time we get people like you to speak on issues of national importance like this. And it makes me wonder how you react when people say, leave religion and politics apart.
No, it's not possible. How do you leave religion and politics apart? Every human being, first of all, we're told we are political animals. You have interest. A pastor, first of all, wants the best for his congregation. Correct? And if you want the best for your congregation, one of the things you can do is to ensure that you belong to government, that you can control the policies. You see, each time they put the pastors within the 4 walls, say, preach to the congregation, but government on earth is second only to God. So you need to have the right people to be able to have that compassion and make policies that will benefit the common people that you preach to. Because prayer alone, without work, is not going to solve anything. That's why some of us are in this.
Thank you very much once again for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.
And that's Political Paradigm today. Thank you for your time. Remember to catch this episode and others on YouTube. Simply search Political Paradigm or go to channelstv.com. I'm Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.